Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, more gerrymandering. Also, voters want jobs instead of culture wars. And a new survey says people are sizing up candidates.
Hey, mister, I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a fella in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his can.
I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
Politicians and morticians. One covers you up in dirt, the other covers you up in all this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and the incomparable Josh Moon, investigative reporter and columnist at APR. Welcome, Josh. Welcome, Susan.
How are you?
I almost gave you another Michael Buffer intro, but I thought 2 weeks in a row, you aren't paying me enough.
No, I understand. One Michael Buffer per month is all that's in the contract.
Hey, they had a meeting recently down in Point Clear, the Business Council of Alabama.
Did they?
Annual meeting, in which they released a new survey that showed that over 80% of verified Republican primary voters are more concerned about economic issues than they are culture war issues. Susan, shocking, clutching at pearls. Never heard such a thing.
I've never heard such a thing. I've never read anything about that. I've never heard any spoken word on, policy versus hot button issues. I just can't imagine where they got the idea.
Josh, I think she's got the vapors.
I do.
Yeah, this needs fainting cap.
I mean, this survey, again, not to gloat, says everything that we've been saying year after year after year after year, is that people are more concerned about the economy, jobs. They're really worried about their taxes, especially with the revoking of the tax-free overtime. Josh, they're concerned about the issues we've been concerned about. Will the politicians listen?
Will the voters listen to themselves? I think is the better question. I mean, yeah, we've been concerned for them. They've been voting for the stupidity. And so, look, as I have tried desperately to tell people for year after year after year after year, stop voting for nonsense. Start voting for your interest. Yeah. Stop falling for this nonsense. You're allowing these groups of people, and really we have two groups that fall into this. Right? You have the true believers who push the nonsense, the real nonsense that's out there. The different little bills of bathroom bills and that sort of stuff. And there are some true Christian nationalist believers out there that are really on top of that. Then you have the other ones who are just doing it simply because it's an easy pathway, right, because we've gerrymandered the hell out of this place. But regardless of who it is, the voters dictate this. If the voters would stop falling for it, they would stop doing it. If it was not beneficial to them, this would not be a thing. And it would end overnight if you voted for your own interests.
And the thing is, we saw that this past week in the Coleman election down there to elect a representative. Only a little over 5,000 people picked the next representative from the Coleman district. Yep. Susan, 5,000 people out of some 40,000 folks. The 5,000 decided this thing.
Yeah. out of 45,000 people. It's gotten ridiculous. I mean, the apathy, and they're counting on this.
Yeah.
They're counting on the apathy of the voters to be able to do whatever the heck they want to do. But I think that people are finally realizing that they know what a woman is. But why aren't you fixing the bridge that it takes an extra 30 minutes for a bus to get around to pick up or put a child back at home every day?
And they're very, very concerned about jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They're very concerned about their taxes. They're very concerned about bread and butter issues, as George W. Bush used to say, how to put food on their families.
Yeah.
Because it's difficult. George knew it was hard to put food on your family because you might get slapped.
Yeah.
But Josh, this is what this survey revealed, is that these are Republican primary voters do not want nonsense. They want action on real life issues.
Man, you remember those days when we thought George W. Bush was the dumbest we could get? It seems like we're at a Mensa meeting now. But yeah, it's honest to God. Listen, go out. That's what I keep telling everybody is stop. I'm not worried about Democrat, Republican. I'm not worried about that. Okay, I'm not worried about liberal, progressive, conservative, all that sort of stuff. Stop worrying about that. Make a list of things that truly affect you every day. Your kids' school funding, the roads around your house and where you travel every single day. The debt, the deficit, whatever it is, your job expansion, economic development, those things, and start gravitating towards people who match your views on those things and put those people into office. I don't give a dadgummit if they are Republican or Democrat, and neither should you. It doesn't matter at this point. Put people in office that'll do the job you want them to do.
And encourage people that you know to go vote if you have to go pick them up and take them to the polls.
Okay, I want to move on. We've got about less than 2 minutes to cover this topic. Over half of the 400 they surveyed in this poll, their Republican primary voters, are undecided. Over half are undecided on who they want for governor and who they want to represent them in the U.S. Senate. Now, Tommy Tuberville has a 69% approval rating, but Susan, over half the people haven't decided they want to vote for him.
That would be troubling to me if I were the Tuberville campaign, because half of them haven't decided when there's only one candidate there, no Republican opponent, no Democrat opponent. I mean, I'd be
Will
worried.
Boyd, but Will's a nice guy, but he's not going to get any traction. And as far as the Senate race, you got Barry Moore and you got Steve Marshall. And Josh, you're hearing the same thing I'm hearing. So is Susan out of D.C. They don't want either one of these candidates in the Capitol at all.
No, they would really prefer it a lot if they would. There's another guy who would bounce past his way into that race, and get in. And I think, of course, he's got a pretty big hurdle to overcome in the whatever the guy's name is who's running the Alabama Republican Party.
Yeah.
I mean, that's seriously whatever his name is.
Nobody knows for sure.
But yeah, honestly, it should be very concerning for the Tuberville camp, because 69% approval rating is great, but let's keep in mind these are 400 Republican primary voters.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just so you still have you're in the 60s, let's say, here of approval in your own party with the folks that are going to vote for you, and so and then 50% of them are undecided on who they're going to vote.
And if you look at it, and we're going to have to get out of here, but if you also look at it, President Trump has a nearly, has a 90% approval rating or that in that area. And Tuberville's trying to be Trump light, but there you go. Anyway, you're watching the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. A federal 3-judge panel has ruled that Alabama must keep the current redistricting maps for our congressional redistricting maps until 2030. They ruled that Alabama originally illegally gerrymandered these maps to exclude black voters, to dampen their voting rights. And so now the only recourse, Susan, is for Attorney General Steve Marshall and his Leonard Leo buddies to appeal to the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court's already heard this once, but as we know, they're about as focused on constitutional law as a picture of Bigfoot.
I'm telling you, I mean, they just keep on and keep on with this. They're obviously gerrymandered. Seriously, they're obviously gerrymandered. And of course, when we came out from pre-clearance, they thought, oh, well, the South's changed. Well, they turned right around and pulled this.
Yeah.
So no, it hasn't changed. But yes, they're going to have to keep these maps until 2030 when the next census is done, which is the only fair thing to do. But going to the Supreme Court, I think the Supreme Court's already said no.
They've already said no, but it's not going to keep Steve Marshall, Leonard Leo, and Kosovoy and all those people that want to change the world through gerrymandering from doing what they do, Josh. Here's
an idea. Here's an idea. How about you recruit candidates who have ideas that could attract voters in those districts? I know this is crazy. But how about you try to get a candidate in District 2 that appeals to the majority of the voters there? I know that's out of this world now. And we're now living in this world where people seem to believe that it's okay for the politicians to pick people who vote for them and not the other way around. But you look what's taking place in Texas right now, and it's just, I don't understand how the average person, again, we go back to an issue of fairness. And I don't care if we're talking about Democrats in Illinois or California or wherever we're talking about. Although California, I would argue, has the best setup and the one that we should employ nationwide, where you have an independent body that comes in, a commission that comes in and has a set of parameters, and that's how you set up your districts. That's how you set up your voting districts, and everything is fair, and the people with the best ideas, win the races.
Well, and you brought up Texas, and Texas right now is trying to do a mid-term redistricting so they can give more power, they can have more seats in Congress, and the president's encouraging this to happen, and it looks like they're going to do it, and then in retaliation to what they're doing in Texas, which is really, it's just cheating. That's all it is. They should not do it, but they're saying they're going to do it. So then California is going to go nuclear and get rid of all the Republican seats. And then Florida is going to go nuclear, and they're going to get rid of all the Democratic seats. And New York's going to get nuclear, and they're going to go through, get rid of all the Republican seats. So it just ends up, we have this partisan divide, and nobody's playing fair. And the Supreme Court somehow doesn't think it's their job to say enough is enough with this partisan gerrymandering.
Oh, apparently they don't. But it's just going to be on and on and on. We just need this team war needs to stop. It's got to stop somewhere because we're not getting anything done.
Yeah.
Nothing's getting done except for worrying about who's got what seat. You know, this little like chess game going on all over. It's certainly not checkers, I should say, because it's not a chess game, all over the country, and nothing's getting done for the people they're supposed to serve.
But Josh, this is what we've developed into is raw power politics. Because right now Texas can do that, or they say they can do it. The president's encouraging this type of thing. There was a time that presidents, once they took office, did not govern in a partisan manner. Mm-hmm. They governed for the people. And that's been quite a while ago. I get that. Yeah. But it's still, we know it's possible to do, but we do not have it. What we have now is just raw power, and it starts in D.C. and it is poisoned all the way down to the states.
You know, it wasn't all that long ago. Joe Biden didn't govern in a partisan manner. Joe Biden, if you look at, matter of fact, we've talked on this show about the things that Joe Biden did for red states specifically to try to attract red state voters and to try to teach them that this is not the way that you want to govern from a high level, that you are a president for all people. And listen, obviously Joe Biden has different ideas and different thoughts on how to run the country than a lot of voters in the state of Alabama. I get that. That's not the partisanship we're talking about. We're talking about giving advantages to red states or blue states, you know, and that has come at the hands of one person. Okay. One person. George W. Bush didn't govern that way. Barack Obama didn't govern that way. Ronald Reagan didn't govern that way. One jackass has governed that way. Okay. Yeah. And so that's where we are, and that's why he's pushing it, and that's where that's how we're gonna end up in this fight. And hopefully we're gonna go so far over the edge with this partisan nonsense that we have to reel it back in, and maybe it will lead to an idea where we get rid of gerrymandering altogether on both sides.
Yeah,
from your lips to God's ears.
And the other thing here in Alabama that's really disturbing is this straight party. You just check one box.
Straight ticket voting.
Straight ticket voting, because people don't have to think then.
No.
You know, they don't have to think. And a lot of good candidates could be elected if we did away with that. I think people might be forced to think about it.
They're never going to do away with that. It's too much advantage to either party, to be honest with you. But no, you're right. People don't have to research their candidate. They don't have to talk to them. They don't have to engage with them in any way. All they have to do is check that box. They're done. They're out of there. They're back to their whatever life.
I don't know why people have to take this thing seriously. Politics affects every aspect of their life, but still, folks, do not take the time. A guy the other day said to one of our people, "Oh, I'm voting for Tommy Tuberville because he's got Trump's agenda." And she said, "Well, what's Trump's agenda?" And he said, "Well, to make America great again." And she said, "Well, what does that mean?" And he went, "Harumph." You know, I mean,
he didn't have an answer.
There's got to be more than Trump's agenda. Because I don't, frankly, and I'm not being critical of President Trump when I say this, I don't know what it is because it changes all the time. But anyway.
To enrich himself.
Well, you're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. You know, I hear from people all the time. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? They're unhappy with the government we have. They're unhappy with these laws are being passed that take away individual liberty and control people, whether it's their bodies, their minds, what they can read, what their children can learn. They're sick of it. I hear that from a lot of people. And it is not Democrats only. It's from Republicans that are just sick and tired. We have models in this country of resistance. Resistance is what our country was founded on. Somebody the other day said that the Declaration of Independence was a document about love and unity. It is about anything but. It is about hate and disunity of the British monarchy and quitting the British monarchy. But we have a history of resistance. And if you go back and you look at the women's suffrage movement, Susan, that movement shows that a group of women who band together can overcome a government prepared to punish them in unbelievable ways. Lucy Burns, Alice Paul were brutalized, force-fed. I mean, these women were caged like animals. They were treated like dirt, and yet they stood strong. And by one vote in Tennessee, the women's suffrage passed, and women now have the vote.
And the word you left out earlier is revolt. Revolt against what is we consider to be an invasion of our democratic rights. Now, understand these women, when you say punish or force-fed, that sounds really not that much. They were beaten, they were chained, they were starved. When they say force-fed, that means they had tubes shoved down their throats into their stomachs where they poured milk and whatever into their esophaguses. But you know what? They didn't quit.
No.
What the people of America are going to have to do is get off your couch.
Yeah.
You can take your phone with you. If you're marching or you're in a protest, it can be right there with you.
Yeah.
Get up. Do something. Get out. Get people registered to vote. Get them excited to vote. Get them to the polls to vote.
And Josh, and I know you know a lot about this, a decade earlier, coal miners in West Virginia and Alabama struck, and they faced company thugs. They faced, sometimes even law enforcement. They were shot at, they were beaten, they were killed, they were put out in the snow, and they stood for a living wage and safe working conditions.
Yeah, it's, there have been a number of stories and instances around our country, throughout our country's history, in which people have overcome tremendous odds and stood up in the face of just absolute brutality. I mean, that's all we mentioned all this. And we also have the Asian population that went through horrors. We also have the African-American population here who I think was well documented, especially in our state.
Bloody Sunday.
It's just nobody's going to just hand you the rights. Nobody's going to hand you equality. And it's a shame. It's a shame that we live in that sort of world where people want to take advantage of others in such obvious and misguided ways and hateful ways that they want to mistreat others, and that you oftentimes use the Bible and other religion to justify whatever it is that they're doing. And that's been the case a lot here. You see the rise of a lot of these really weird pastors that have taken a hold of Christian congregations around the country and really force-fed them a male-dominated sort of theory on how things should be run. And, you got to fight back against some of that stuff. And you got to fight it with, I think the black folks that I'm friends with call them good whites, and so you need some good men and you need some good whites and you need to get everybody together and start doing this because listen, I'm a white male who's grown up in the South all my life. I don't believe that nonsense. You know, I don't believe that way. And so find some other people like me and let's get this done.
Well, I think, you know, there are people, plenty of people. I think there are Republicans. I know them who are good, but they know that to stand up in this current environment, they will be punished. But there has to be some principles that are worth losing over. I mean, yes, our black citizens suffered more than anybody else, but I wanted to show that there were other people, other groups that organized and changed America through sheer force of will, and even knowing that they were going to be beaten, they were going to be crushed. And I mean, look, lighting a candle, knowing that the wind's going to blow, ain't, you know, foolish. It's what has to be done if you want
Let's don't forget the women's movement also in the 60s and 70s. We have a long history of this, a long history. But it started with somebody getting up, not just at the political level, somebody getting up, registering voters, getting the word out, getting organized, and doing something about it.
My mother, God rest her soul, was quite an organizer herself, and she used to say, one person up with dawn in their eyes multiplies. So we need leaders. Josh, I'm sorry I didn't interrupt you.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I just wanted to say I am so tired of people using this excuse of, oh, well, we know we're going to be punished in the Trump administration. We know we're going to be punished. Punished how? You know what I mean? Let's talk relatively speaking here. Are you going to be punished like some of these folks are that we see out here every day who are losing their health insurance? You're going to struggle every day to figure out how you're going to feed your kids? Or is it that you're just going to lose the cushy job maybe that you have, and you're going to have to go back and go to real work at the law firm that you were at before, and maybe tap into the trust fund? I mean, it's such horse. I keep hearing this all the time, and I'm so tired of it. It's just, you know what I mean? Come on, man. Y'all aren't suffering. You're not suffering. You're not, to challenge somebody and to stand up for things that you know are right. That you're not going to suffer for that. You're going to have to go back and do something that's not quite as easy as what you're doing now. Oh my God, poor you. Let's, free at last, free at last.
Give them liberty or a paper cut.
Yeah, maybe it's the next voting cycle. Maybe people will vote for you because you did stand up.
Yeah. Well,
I know somebody became a lieutenant governor because he stood up to Mike Coburn.
Yeah, and Will Ainsworth was the only one in the legislature that would stand up to Mike Coburn.
Both Senate and
the
House.
voters rewarded him with the lieutenant governor.
They sure did.
Anyway,
would have made him governor this time.
They would have made him governor this time had Tuberville not have waylaid that important vote. But you've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.